I, female, 32, let my sister, female, 29, move in with me temporarily, and I'm already regretting it. Am I being unreasonable? Throwaway because my sister follows my main account. Longtime lurker, first-time poster. So I guess I should start with some background. I'm the older sister who's always been the responsible one in our family. I work as a project manager at a tech company. I own my own place, a modest but comfy 2-bedroom condo that I saved years for, and I've been financially independent since graduating college. My sister Kristen has always been the favorite. I don't even think my parents realize how obvious it is, but literally everyone else sees it. My boyfriend Mark, male, 34, points it out all the time, and we've been together for about 2 years now. Growing up, there were so many examples of this. Like, I remember in high school, I got straight A's on my report card, which was normal for me to be honest, and my parents barely even acknowledged it. Maybe a good job, and that was it. But then Kristen got a C in math after failing the previous semester, and my parents took her shopping and out to a fancy dinner to celebrate her improvement and for trying her best. This kind of thing happened all the time. I should say that I do love my parents, James, male, 64, and Grace, female, 62. They're not bad people. They did help me with part of my down payment a few years ago, which I'm super grateful for. But I've paid for everything else myself and have been financially independent since like 22. Kristen, on the other hand, well, she's 29 and still regularly asks them for money. Anyway, the current situation. Kristen lost her job, again. This is like the third job in 2 years that she's been fired from. She also lost her fancy apartment. Way nicer than mine, by the way. Even though I make more money, I'm just more careful with my spending. But instead of telling my parents the truth, she told them her building was being converted to condos and she couldn't afford to buy. Total lie. I found out through a mutual friend who works at the company that fired her. Apparently, she was constantly late and had attitude problems with her boss. This is basically a pattern for her, since forever. In high school, she quit the soccer team because the coach expected too much, aka wanted her to show up to practice. In college, she switched majors 3 times because professors were unfair. It's always someone else's fault. So a few weeks ago, my parents called me and started putting on the pressure for me to let Kristen move in with me temporarily. They swore it would only be 2 to 3 months max while she finds a new place. I was really hesitant because, 1, I work from home 3 days a week and I use my spare bedroom as my office. I handle confidential financial info for clients, so I need privacy and a proper workspace. 2, I value my independence and personal space. I've lived alone for years and I like it that way. 3, Kristen and I have very different living styles. I'm neat and organized. She's not. When I brought up these concerns to my parents, they immediately made me feel like the worst person ever. They were like, "Family comes first, Rachel. And remember how we helped with your down payment." My dad reminded me of all they've done for me and asked if I couldn't do this one thing for my sister. I also have this work presentation coming up that could lead to a promotion. I've been preparing for weeks and now I'm stressed about having to deal with this home situation on top of it. So anyway, my parents invited me to dinner to discuss the situation. My dad asked if I'd thought more about letting Kristen stay with me. When I mentioned my concerns about workspace and privacy, my mom dismissed them, saying family comes first and I could make it work. Kristen pretended she didn't want to be a burden and suggested staying with our parents, knowing they would refuse because they need their space. My dad brought up helping with my down payment again, and my mom suggested I could work from my bedroom or a coffee shop. Kristen promised to respect my space and that it wouldn't be for long. Feeling cornered, I agreed, and my parents were suddenly all smiles, saying they were proud of me for finally doing something for my sister. So guess what? Kristen moved in yesterday with 7 suitcases. 7 for a temporary stay. She immediately started rearranging my furniture without asking. I came out of the shower this morning and found her using my expensive skincare products, the ones I specifically keep in my bathroom, not the guest bathroom. There are already dishes in the sink. I tried to establish some house rules last night, but she either ignored them or made me feel petty for even bringing them up. When I mentioned that I need quiet during work hours, she rolled her eyes and said it's not like she's going to throw a party while I'm working. But then this morning, she was on speakerphone with a friend while I was trying to prepare for a client call. I don't know what to do. Am I being unreasonable here? I feel like I'm going crazy. Mark thinks I should stand up to my family more, but it's not that simple. They always make me feel like I'm being selfish whenever I try to set boundaries. Edit. A lot of people are asking why I let this happen if I knew it would be a disaster. I guess I always hope things will be different, and the guilt is real. My parents have this way of making me feel like I owe them and Kristen for existing. It's hard to explain if you don't have this dynamic in your family. Someone asked about the down payment thing. My parents helped with about 15% of my down payment 4 years ago. I've offered to pay them back multiple times, but they always refuse. But then they bring it up every time they want me to do something. So it's like a perpetual debt I can never repay. Fun times. Several people have asked if I've tried talking to Kristen directly without our parents involved. Yes, many times over the years. She either gets defensive, cries until I back down, or agrees to change and then doesn't. It's exhausting. Now for the first update. So, a lot has happened since my last post. First, thank you all so much for the advice and support. I read every single comment, even though I didn't respond to all of them, because honestly, I was overwhelmed. I wish I could say things have gotten better, but they haven't. At all. It's been 3 months now. 3 months. Remember how my parents swore it would only be 2 to 3 months max? Well, we're at the upper limit of that timeline, and there's literally zero sign of Kristen making any effort to leave. None. Not even looking at apartments online or anything. Living with my sister has become an actual nightmare. I'm not even exaggerating. For those who said this would happen in the comments of my last post, you were right, and I should have listened. So here's what's been happening. Buckle up, because this is going to be long. First of all, Kristen constantly invites friends over without asking me. Like, constantly. And not just during normal hours. I'm talking about people showing up at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday when I have an 8 a.m. meeting the next day. Last week, her friends were here until 2 a.m. on a work night, and they were being so loud I could hear them through my noise-canceling headphones. When I came out and asked them to please keep it down because I had an early meeting, Kristen rolled her eyes and told me not to be a buzzkill in front of everyone. I was so embarrassed and angry, I just went back to my room. She takes my stuff all the time without asking. Food, clothes, makeup, you name it. Last month, she took my grandmother's sweater that Grandma knitted for me before she passed and stretched it out because it was too small on her. That sweater meant everything to me, and now it's ruined. When I confronted her about it, she just shrugged and said she'd get me another one. Like, no, you can't replace something with sentimental value. The messes. Oh my God, the messes. She leaves dishes in the sink for days. There are currently 3 mugs with moldy coffee in them that have been there since Monday. It's Friday now. Last month, she spilled red wine on my couch, the light gray one I saved for months to buy, and just left it there. Didn't even try to clean it. When I asked her to help me clean it, she claimed she was too tired and would do it later, which never happened. I ended up having to pay for professional cleaning, and the stain is still kind of visible. She's loud during my work calls. Sometimes I think she does it on purpose. Like, I'll be on an important client call, and suddenly she's outside my door asking if she can borrow my car or what we should do for dinner. I've explained a million times that I need quiet during work hours, but it's like talking to a wall. She hasn't contributed a single dollar to rent or utilities. Not one. Every time I bring it up, she gives excuses about being between payments or waiting on a check. But somehow, she has money for new clothes and going out with friends. Make it make sense. The worst part is how she's controlling the narrative with our family. She tells everyone that I'm loving having her there and that we're bonding. My aunt even commented on Facebook about how sweet it was that I was helping my sister through a tough time. I wanted to scream. And of course, everyone believes Kristen because she's always been the charming, fun one that everyone loves. I'm not bitter or anything, lol. I've tried talking to her about all this so many times. Each time follows the same pattern. 1. I bring up issues calmly and reasonably. 2. She either gets defensive, cries, or promises to do better. 3. Things improve for maybe 2 days. 4. Everything goes back to exactly how it was before. This pattern has been happening since we were teenagers. I don't know why I expected anything different. I guess I'm the definition of insanity, doing the same thing and expecting different results. My parents are still enabling her completely. I called my dad last week after Kristen's late night party, and he made excuses about the housing market being tough and how family helps family. When I mentioned she hasn't paid any rent, he just sighed and said she's between jobs. I expect a 29-year-old woman to be responsible and accountable. Is that really too much to ask? My mom is even worse. Every time I call her with a legitimate complaint, she somehow turns it around on me. She says I've always been particular about my things and that I need to be more understanding because we're different. No, I need my sister to be a functional adult. This whole situation is affecting every part of my life. My work performance has suffered because I'm constantly tired and stressed. I was up for a promotion last month and completely bombed my presentation because I was up until 1 a.m. the night before dealing with Kristen and her friends. My boss asked if everything was okay at home afterward. So embarrassing. And my relationship with Mark is really struggling. We've been together over 2 years, but lately it feels like we're stuck. We can never have any privacy at my place anymore, and he's getting frustrated with how much of our time together is spent with me venting about Kristen. He keeps telling me I need to stand up to my family more, but he doesn't understand how complicated it is. Side note, his family is super functional and normal, so he really doesn't get the dynamics here. So, the breaking point happened last weekend. I was cleaning the guest bathroom, which Kristen had left covered in makeup and hair, and found her phone on the counter, plugged in and charging. I noticed it was on record mode, like she had been recording voice messages and forgot to turn it off. I know what you're thinking. I shouldn't have listened to it. And yeah, I probably shouldn't have. But after months of this, I was curious. Okay, I'm not proud of it, but I did listen. Guys, what I heard made me feel physically sick. She was recording messages to her friends where she called our parents pathetic and easy to manipulate, bragged that she has absolutely no intention of moving out or getting a job anytime soon, laughed about how our dad will give her anything because she's always been his favorite, described in detail how she lied about a medical bill 6 months ago to get $2,000 from them, said she'll probably get everything in the will anyway, while I'll get the family photo albums or something equally worthless, complained about living with me but said it's better than paying rent, called me a pathetic pushover who won't ever stand up to mom and dad. I was shaking by the time I finished listening. Everything I've suspected for years was right there on record. She's been playing everyone, including me. When she got home that evening from shopping with our mom's credit card, I confronted her. I tried to stay calm. I told her I found her phone recording in the bathroom. She immediately got defensive and accused me of snooping through her things. When I asked when she was planning to find her own place, she just said the housing market was impossible right now. I told her I heard what she said about having no plans to leave. She switched tactics and said I've always been jealous of her and was just trying to make her look bad. Then she threatened that if I tried to force her to leave, she'd tell our parents I was abusing her and they'd believe her over me. I don't know what to do anymore. Part of me wants to play these recordings for my parents so they can finally see who Kristen really is. But another part of me feels guilty about potentially destroying their relationship with her. Despite everything, I remember how proud and happy they looked at her college graduation, but I also feel like I'm being manipulated and used by everyone in my family. I talked to Mark about it, and he thinks I should stand up for myself and play the recordings, but it feels like he's just not understanding the complexity here. This isn't just about me, it's about my whole family. Since the confrontation, things have gotten even worse. Now Kristen is demanding that I give up the master bedroom to her because she says it's not fair that I have the bigger room when she needs more closet space. Are you kidding me? I'm at my breaking point. Should I play these recordings for my parents? Should I just change the locks next time she goes out? Probably illegal, I know. Is there another solution I'm not seeing? Edit. To those asking why I didn't kick her out immediately after hearing the recordings, she's still technically a tenant now, even though she hasn't paid anything. I looked up the laws in my state, and I would need to formally evict her, which could take months. Also, my parents would get upset if I put their baby on the street. Edit 2. Several people have asked about my lease mortgage situation. I own my condo. My name is the only one on the mortgage. Kristen is not on any paperwork whatsoever. But apparently in my state, someone can establish tenancy even without a formal agreement if they've lived somewhere for a certain period with the owner's permission. So yes, legally, I probably need to do a formal eviction. FML. Now for the second update. I exposed my sister to our parents and everything has fallen apart. So it's been about 2 weeks since my last post, and holy shit, you guys, everything has completely exploded. First, thank you so much to everyone who commented with advice and support. I read every single comment, and honestly, it gave me the courage to finally do something about this situation. I decided that I needed to expose Kristen's true nature to my parents. I know a lot of you told me to do this in my previous posts, but it's way easier said than done when you've spent your whole life trying to keep the peace, you know. But things with Kristen had gotten even worse, and I just couldn't take it anymore. In the last 2 weeks, she started bringing random guys home in the middle of the night. Like, I'd wake up at 3 a.m. to find some stranger in my kitchen. She also started borrowing my car without asking and returning it with an empty gas tank. The final straw was when I caught her trying to access my work laptop, which has super confidential client information on it. If she had gotten in, I could have literally lost my job. When I confronted her, she just shrugged and said she needed to check her email and her phone was dead. Are you kidding me? So I came up with a plan. I invited my parents over for dinner, but I told Kristen it was to discuss extending her stay and maybe even getting our parents to help with rent. I spent the day cleaning the apartment and cooking dinner. I almost canceled the whole thing twice because I was so anxious about the confrontation. I literally developed a stress rash on my neck that I had to cover with makeup, and I had a panic attack in the bathroom right before my parents arrived. I had to splash cold water on my face and do that breathing exercise thing my old therapist taught me. Oh, and I should mention I called my older cousin Jen for moral support beforehand, and she told me that Kristen had been borrowing money from other family members too. Apparently, she took $2,000 from our 84-year-old grandmother and never paid it back. Grandma is on a fixed income and didn't tell anyone because she was embarrassed. I was furious when I heard that. Mark offered to be there for support, but I said no because I felt like this needed to be handled within the family. Our relationship has been kind of rocky lately because of all this, and he's getting frustrated with my inability to set boundaries. He's not wrong, but it's not as simple as he thinks it is. Anyway, dinner started, and Kristen was being extra charming with our parents. She kept saying things like I was too busy with work and barely had time for family, while my parents nodded sympathetically. They kept praising Kristen for handling her housing situation well and talking about how proud they were of her. I just sat there drinking too much wine to calm my nerves. As the meal went on, I started doubting my plan. My parents seemed so happy having dinner with both their daughters getting along. I almost backed out. Like, I literally had a moment where I thought maybe I should just let it all go and continue letting Kristen walk all over me if it meant keeping the peace. But then after dinner, Kristen started complaining about me being so controlling about the apartment. Then she asked my parents if they could help her financially because Rachel is charging too much for rent. I calmly mentioned that I actually hadn't received any rent from Kristen, not a single dollar. She immediately claimed she'd offered multiple times, but I refused to take it. At that point, I knew I had to go through with my plan. I quietly connected my phone to my Bluetooth speakers. My hands were literally shaking. I said I had something everyone needed to hear. My dad asked what was going on, and my mom looked confused. I played the first voice message. It was Kristen saying our parents were pathetic and easy to manipulate. Kristen tried to grab my phone, but I moved away. I played more messages, the ones where she said she had no plans to move out or get a job anytime soon, where she laughed about how our dad would give her anything because she was his favorite, where she described lying about a medical bill to get $2,000 from them, where she said she'd probably get everything in the will anyway, while I'd get something worthless. And finally, where she called me a pathetic pushover who wouldn't ever stand up to our parents. My parents looked completely shocked. My dad's face just dropped. My mom started crying quietly. Kristen tried everything. First, she said the recordings were fake. Then she said they were edited. When I played more specific messages with details about her lies, she switched to blaming me for spying and ruining everything. My dad asked in a really quiet voice if she really thought those things about them. She started crying, saying she was just venting to friends and didn't mean any of it. My mom said she needed to leave. She looked really upset. My dad followed her, saying they needed time to think. Kristen yelled at me that I'd ruined her life and stormed out after them. I just sat there alone in my apartment in complete shock. I was shaking and crying and wondering if I'd done the right thing. I mean, she deserved to be exposed, but did I just destroy my family? For about a week after that, I heard nothing from my parents. Kristen stayed with a friend and sent me horrible texts calling me every name you can imagine. She said I was dead to her and she hoped I'd die alone because no one could ever love someone as pathetic and jealous as me. I talked to Mark about everything and told him I was worried I'd completely destroyed my family. He reminded me that I just exposed the truth. I didn't create it. Kristen did all those things herself. That helped a little, but I still felt awful. Then, a week after the dinner, my dad called me. The conversation was intense. He told me they had cut Kristen off financially after checking some of her other lies. They talked to their lawyer about removing her from their will entirely. The worst part was they discovered Kristen had maxed out credit cards in their names, totaling thousands of dollars. They're working with the credit card companies now to dispute the charges. My dad said they're offering to help Kristen, but only if she takes responsibility. They'll pay for therapy and help her find a job, but that's it. No more handouts. And then he apologized to me for years of unequal treatment, for not believing me when I tried to tell them about Kristen's behavior, for putting so much pressure on me to let her stay. He said they need time to process everything, but they want to rebuild their relationship with me. I didn't know what to say. Part of me felt vindicated, but mostly I just felt sad about my whole family falling apart. Kristen has been bad-mouthing all of us on social media and to relatives. Some cousins have taken her side without even knowing the full story, and others are supporting me. It's creating this whole division in our extended family. My parents have apparently started therapy to address their enabling behavior, which honestly shocked me because they've always been so against therapy, and I'm considering starting therapy again myself to work through all my guilt and people-pleasing tendencies. The thing is, Kristen's friend kicked her out after 2 weeks, and now she's demanding to return to my apartment, claiming she has tenants' rights. I'm worried about the legal complications, but I am absolutely not letting her back into my home. I've already changed the locks, and I'm prepared to deal with whatever legal mess comes from this. Mark's brother is a lawyer and is helping me figure it all out. I'm having dinner with my parents this weekend, our first step toward rebuilding our relationship on healthier terms. I'm nervous, but also hopeful that maybe something good can come out of this whole disaster. I just want to thank everyone who commented on my previous posts and encouraged me to stand up for myself. I don't think I would have had the courage to do it without your support.